Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. Today I am here with the next update for my A to C project pan. If you haven't been following this project along, I am trying to pan on one eyeshadow for each letter of the alphabet this year, and I am happy to jump into where I am with all of my eyeshadows. But if you're new here, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you in the family. But let's just start talking about which eyeshadows I still have in this project. So this has definitely not been my best month. I actually don't have any new pans to share, but I'm still happy with where I am with these eyeshadows. I've just been having my focus elsewhere this month, and my uses aren't as good as normally in this project, but it's okay. I just had one down month, and next month I'm definitely going to try to do some more pans in this project, and I'm still doing overall really well. So I'm just going to talk about the eyeshadows that I still have in this project. And someone also commented on my last video that it's going to become a little bit confusing of which eyeshadows I still have in this project and which ones I've hit pan on. So in this update I'm going to talk about which ones. I'm going to mention every single letter in the alphabet and mention if I hit pan on it or not. And then I also will include a list down in my description box with all of the eyeshadows, so you can see which ones I've hit pan on and which ones I still have in this project. So I hope that helps. But the eyeshadow for A comes from my Anastasia Amrezy palette, and it is the shade Anastasia. So that is what this palette looks like, or this eyeshadow looks like now. So I definitely have a dip going in this shade, and my goal for this month was to pan on this eyeshadow, but I didn't get there because again I was focusing on other shimmer shades, and that's kind of especially is where my focus has been. And this one I reached for twice this month for a total of 7 uses. So I think that if I focus in on this shade, this should be one that I can hit pan on next month. But again, it is kind of depending on if I pan on those other shimmer shades that I'm working on. But I think this is going to be one of the first shades in this project that I focus on once I pan on those other ones. So that is the first eyeshadow. The second eyeshadow was B, which is one that I've already hit pan on. That is Buon Fresco from the Modern Renaissance palette. So that is already out the project. And then for C, we have an eyeshadow from my Sultry palette by Anastasia, and that is the shade Cyborg. I actually haven't used this shade in the past month, so it is staying the same. And I have so far used this twice. So D is another shade that I already hit pan on. That was a Dreamer from the Norvina palette. So that is another one that is already out of this project. So for E, we have a shade from my Subculture palette, and that is the shade Electric. With this one I'm going to cover up because I'm actually panning another shade in this palette in an update that will have very soon, so I'm covering that shade up. But the shade that I have for E is the shade Electric, which is this one here, and I only reached for this once in the past month, which was actually yesterday for me, and I really like the look that I made, and I do like this eyeshadow quite a lot, but not too many uses yet. I have a total of 3 uses on this shadow, so I still have a little bit to go with this, but I think that once I start focusing on this eyeshadow, it will be an easy one to reach for almost on an everyday basis because I really love this shade. For F, we also have another one that I already hit pan on. That was the shade Faso from the Magic Mini palette that I hit pan on quite early on. I do have a few shades left in that palette, but that one is done. For G, we have a shade from my Aina palette, and that is the shade Ginger. I actually haven't used this shade this month because I've been focusing on other kind of warm-toned transition shades, so I only have 6 uses on this in total. Next up we have H, which is a shade from my More palette, but this shade originally was from the Soul palette, but it is in the place of HWY, so that is why I have this in this project. But I have reached for this once in the past month, and this is what the eyeshadow looks like now. I do only have 2 uses in total, so I still have a very long way to go with this one, but this is one that I feel like is more of a summer shade, so I think this is one that's going to be getting more use in the upcoming months. So the next one was I already hit pan on as well. That was the shade Iffy from the Lilac palette. I love that shade. It's one of my favorite purples in my collection, so I hit pan on that quite early on because it was one that I was focusing on. For J, we have the shade Jester from Makeup Geek, so it's another single, and this is what the eyeshadow looks like. I haven't used this again this month, and I have 3 uses on it in total, so not great. But for me, this is more of a fall kind of shade, so I think this is one that I will focus on at that time rather than now, because I don't think this is a shade that I would like to reach for too much this time of year. Although the eyeshadow that I have today kind of reminds me of this one in certain lighting. This is actually a multi-chrome eyeshadow from Cleona, so it has that kind of almost taupey shift, and then it has a middle shift which is very close to this, and then it has that kind of bluish teal shift on the end, which I think you can see as well. So yeah, anyway, I don't know why I mentioned that, but overall it's a shade that I like to reach for more in the autumn and winter, so that's probably when I want to start focusing on this one. So I've hit pan on both K and L. K was for Koro in my Juvia's Place to Try palettes, and I've hit pan on that one. And then for L we had Love from the Norvina palette by Anastasia, and I've hit pan on that one as well. I actually rolled that one out last update, so both of those are out. So for M we have a shade from my Soft Glam palette, that is the shade Mulberry, and this has been one of the shades that I've been focusing most on this past month, and I actually reached for this 10 times in the past month. This is what the eyeshadow looks like, so you can definitely see that there is dip starting to form, and I do use quite a small brush with this one in my outer corner, so that's why it's so kind of specific in the pan. But I have used for this 14 times in total in this project, so quite a lot, and I'm surprised that I haven't hit pan on it yet, and I don't think that I'm super close either. So this is definitely going to be an eyeshadow that's going to take quite a while, but I do love this shade, and it's a really nice deepening up shades with both kind of warm kind of orangey looks, but also like brownie looks, and also slightly like mauve toned looks. So I really like this shade, and it's quite a versatile, so I don't mind working on it. For N we have another shade from my Subculture palette, and that is the shade New Wave, which is this kind of shade right here. I have reached for this once in the past month for a total of 2 uses, so again not too much, but I think this is another one that I will focus in on more kind of in the upcoming months. So O is another shade from my Soft Glam palette, and that is the shade Orange Soda. I still haven't used this eyeshadow in this project, so I'm staying at 0 uses, just because I've been reaching for, like I've had a really similar shade to this in my Pantastic Eyeshadows this past month. So that's kind of why I didn't reach for it this month, and then overall I think it's more of a spring summer shade, but maybe I'll start reaching for this in the upcoming month when I roll that eyeshadow out, or when I hit pan on it. So hopefully I will start getting some more use on Orange Soda. So the shade P was Pyramid from the Prism palette, and I have hit pan on that already, so that is out of the project. For Q we have another single shade, or it's technically a shade from my Colourpop Honey palette, but I do have it kind of laying in my singles, and that is the shade Queen Bee. So Queen Bee I still haven't used this month, but I do have 4 uses on it in total, so I do have like a little bit of disturbance in the pan, but this is another shade that I will start reaching for. I think these two will actually pair really nicely together, so I feel like I will start working on these two together, because I feel like this will be really nice like on the inner part of the lid, and then this one on the outer half of the lid. So I think that's going to be my plan, and I'm going to try to get some more use out of this in the next kind of upcoming month, because I feel like I've been neglecting these two shades quite a lot. And as you know, Colourpop pans are deceivingly deep for being such small pans, so I know they're going to take quite a while to pan on. For R we have another shade from my Modern Renaissance palette, and that is the shade Raw Sienna. This is actually the kind of transition shade that I've been reaching for quite a lot recently. It's been my go-to transition shade when I want like a warmer transition shade. And with this one I have reached for this 6 times, so not too many, but I only started doing that in the last like 2 weeks. So I feel like I'm getting a bit more uses in it, but as you can see 6 uses has barely even created a dip, so I feel like this is also going to be one that's going to take quite a long time to hit pan on. For S we have another shade from my Aina palette, that is the shade Sponsored. I have not reached for this shade this month, but it is a stunning shade, so I know that I will be able to hit pan on this year. So far I only have 2 uses on it, but I do, as you can see, have quite a significant dip. And this is another shade that to me kind of screams more fall and winter, so I think that's also when I'm going to try to focus on this shade. And I have mentioned in the past that this is a stunning shade that I really enjoy wearing, and I kind of want to wear this when I actually go out and do stuff, and since I can do that more now, I think that I will be more inclined to reach for this shade. So T is another one that I've already hit pan on, that is the shade Tart from the Deuce palette, that is rolled out. But next up we have Untamed, which is another one from my Subculture palette, and that is this shade right here. I have reached for this twice in the past month for a total of 5 uses, and I'm actually wearing this today. Is what I'm wearing kind of to deepen up the outer corner, as well as like in the crease to transition between the transition shade and the deeper lid shade that I have on today. So that is what I'm wearing today, and I really like this shade, but I don't reach for it super often, so I think this is one that's gonna take almost like the full year to hit pan on, but I still feel like I will be able to hit pan on this, and I'm not too worried about it. So the next 3 shades are all that I've hit pan on, and the V shade was Vla from the NYX Tutorials and Beauty Bay palettes. It was like a kind of pastel but bright yellow that I really enjoyed, but yeah, I hit pan on that already. Next up is Wild Child from the Norvina palette, and that is another one that I rolled out last month, so that is also one that I've hit pan on. And then we have X, which is the NYX Volatile shade, and since I didn't have any anything starting with X. I just went with something from NYX because the X is in that name, and that rolled out quite early on in this project, so that is also one that is rolled out. And then the two final shades both come from my Magic Mini palette from Juvia's Place. I am working on Jamoya as well as Suba. So I said in the last update that these would be two shades that I would focus on because I didn't really have too many lid shades to work on, but then I did end up rolling some lid shades into different projects, so I haven't been focusing on these too much, or actually at all, because this is what the palette looks like. So it is this shade right here and this shade right here, and I haven't reached for this at all, so I still only have one use on each of these. So that, you guys, was it for this update. I am a little bit sad that I didn't hit any pans this month, but I'm not too worried because I've been having really good months prior. I hit like 2 to 3 pans average each month, so I feel like if I can get back to doing that, I still should be able to hit my goal on these. So yeah, I'm still happy with where I am, and hopefully next month it will be a bit more exciting. And like I said, I will continue putting the list down below with all of the eyeshadows that were originally in this project, and then which ones I've hit pan on, so you can keep track of where I am with this project. But that is it for today. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And otherwise, I really hope you're having an amazing day, and I will talk to you in my next video. Bye guys.